Captain Lee Jun sat in his command chair, watching the stars drift past the viewing screen. The Handbox Pride moved slowly through space, checking each system on their patrol route. It was boring work, but someone had to do it. For 3 years, his ship had traveled the outer edges of human space, looking for new planets and checking for dangers. "Captain, I'm getting something strange," said Park Hana from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, a young woman who could hear signals that others missed. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls, adjusting frequencies and filters. Lee Jun turned to look at her. "What kind of strange?" Hana frowned at her screen. "It's not coming from any human ship. The signal is weak, but it's definitely artificial. Someone is sending it on purpose." Kim Tae, the science officer, looked up from his instruments. "Could be equipment failure from one of our deep space probes." "No, sir." Hana shook her head. "This is different. The pattern is too organized. It's using basic math sequences like someone is trying to teach us their language." The bridge became quiet. Everyone knew what this might mean. Humans had been traveling in space for over 100 years, but they had never found another intelligent species. The possibility excited and frightened people in equal measure. "Put it on the main speakers," Lee Jun ordered. Strange sounds filled the bridge. Clicks and tones that formed patterns. Numbers that counted up and down. Star charts that showed positions in space. And underneath it all, something that sounded desperate. Yoon Dae, the tactical officer, stood up from his station. "Captain, if this is real first contact, we should call Earth immediately. Let the experts handle it." Lee Jun nodded slowly. "Kim Tae, how long would it take you to decode this message?" The science officer thought for a moment. "Give me 2 hours, maybe 3. The math is simple, but I need to understand their symbols." "Do it," Lee Jun decided. "But keep monitoring. If there are more signals, I want to know immediately." Kim Tae worked for the next 2 hours while the rest of the crew watched nervously. The alien signal continued, repeating the same message over and over. Whatever was sending it really wanted someone to listen. Finally, Kim Tae called everyone to his station. His face was pale, and his hands shook slightly as he pointed to his screen. "I've got most of it translated," he said. "It's a distress call. The beings sending it call themselves the Vellani. They're under attack by something called the Korthak Empire. Their home planet is being destroyed, and they're asking for help from anyone who can hear them." SEO Min, the chief engineer, looked confused. "Help with what? We don't know anything about them." Kim Tae pulled up more data. They included star charts showing their location. It's about 6 days from here at maximum speed. They also sent images of their attackers' ships and weapons. "Captain, these Korthak ships are huge, much bigger than anything we've ever built." Lee Jun studied the translated message and the attached images. The photos showed massive black ships firing down at a beautiful blue and green planet. Smaller ships were fleeing the planet, clearly trying to escape the destruction. "What's our duty here?" he asked his officers. Yoon Dae spoke first. "Protocol says we should report to Earth and wait for orders. First contact is too important to handle. Alone! But by the time Earth responds, it might be too late," Park Hana pointed out. "The message sounds desperate. These people might not have much time." SEO Min agreed. "The images show their planet under heavy attack. If we wait for Earth's response, we might arrive to find nothing but space dust." Lee Jun looked at each of his officers. They were good people, all of them. They had joined the space service to explore and protect. Now they faced the biggest decision of their lives. "Kim Tae, can you tell how old this signal is?" "Based on the distance and signal strength, I estimate it's about 4 days old. But Captain, they're still transmitting. The signal is getting weaker, but it's still coming." Lee Jun made his choice. "Plot a course for the Vellani system. Maximum speed." "Sir?" Yoon Dae looked surprised. "We're going to help them," Lee Jun said firmly. "Send a message to Earth explaining what we found and what we're doing. But we're not going to sit here while innocent people die." The crew rushed to their stations. CO Min pushed the engines to their limits. Park Hana composed a detailed message for Earth. Kim Tae continued translating the alien signal, learning more about the Villani and their attackers. For 6 days, the Handbox Pride raced through space. The crew worked around the clock, preparing for whatever they might find. Yoon. They ran combat simulations. SEO Min modified their weapons for maximum effectiveness. Kim Tae learned as much as possible about both the Villani and the Korthak. On the 6th day, they dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Villani system. What they saw made everyone gasp. The planet Valaris Prime was dying, massive. Black ships, just like in the images, surrounded the world. Bright beams of energy struck the surface, turning green continents into burning wastelands. Smaller ships fled the planet in all directions, but Korthak fighters chased them down like predators, hunting prey. How many? Lee Jun asked quietly. Yoon. Day checked his sensors. 12 big ships around the planet. Maybe 50 fighters chasing the refugees. Captain, we're seriously outnumbered. Lee Jun watched a group of refugee ships trying to escape. 3 Korthak fighters closed in on them, weapons charging. The refugee ships had no weapons, no shields. They were helpless. Target those fighters, he ordered. Fire when ready. Sir, once we attack, they'll know we're here, Yoon Dae warned. Good, Lee Jun replied. I want them to know that someone came to help. The Handbox Pride opened fire. Their advanced weapons cut through space and struck the Korthak fighters. The alien ships exploded in bright flashes, completely surprised by the sudden attack. The refugee ships continued their escape, but now every Korthak ship in the system knew the humans had arrived. Alarms blared on the bridge as dozens of enemy ships turned toward them. Well, Seo Min said with a nervous smile, I guess we're committed now. Lee Jun smiled back. Signal Earth again. Tell them we've made contact with both sides. And tell them to bring everything we've got. The battle for Valaris Prime was about to begin, and Captain Lee Jun had just announced humanity's presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. Admiral Choi Hyun stared at the message on his screen for the 3rd time. The words were clear, but their meaning was almost impossible to believe. First contact with aliens, a species under attack. Captain Lee Jun fighting outnumbered against unknown enemies. Get me the president, he ordered his aide, and contact every world leader. Emergency meeting in 1 hour. The news spread through Earth's government like wildfire. President Park Jin called an emergency session of the Global Security Council. Chancellor Lim Yeo flew in from Berlin. Prime Minister Singh arrived from New Delhi. Every major leader on Earth gathered in the secure meeting room beneath Geneva. Show them the message, Admiral Choi Hyun said. The recording played Captain Lee Jun's voice, tired but determined. Earth Control, this is Captain Lee Jun of the Handbox Pride. We have made contact with an alien species called the Villani. They are under attack by an aggressive empire called the Korthak. I have engaged enemy forces to protect Villani refugees. We need immediate assistance. The room stayed silent for a long moment after the message ended. How do we know this is real? Asked the Russian premier. Admiral Choi Hyun pulled up more data. We've confirmed the signal came from the coordinates Captain Lee sent. Our deep space sensors detect energy signatures consistent with a large battle. The quantum signature of Lee's ship confirms his location. President Park Jin leaned forward. What are our options? Officially, we wait and see. Send a single ship. To investigate. Proceed with extreme caution, the Admiral replied. But I don't think we have that luxury. Chancellor Lim Yeo studied the tactical displays. Why not? Because Captain Lee sent us detailed scans of the enemy ships before he engaged them. These Korthak vessels are massive. Each one could destroy any ship in our fleet. If they can do this to one species, they can do it to others, including us. The weight of the situation settled on everyone in the room. Humanity had just learned they were not alone in the universe, and their new neighbors included a violent empire that destroyed entire planets. General Bei Wu, the head of Earth's ground forces, spoke up. "What kind of response are we talking about?" Admiral Choi Hyun had been preparing for this question. "Full mobilization. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier we have. This isn't just about helping the Villani anymore. This is about survival." "You want to mobilize the entire planet based on one message?" the Chinese premier asked. "I want to mobilize the entire planet because that message shows us what happens to species that can't defend themselves," Admiral Choi Hyun replied. "The Korthak Empire has been expanding for who knows how long. If we don't stop them now, Earth could be next." President Park Jin looked around the table. "All in favor of full military mobilization?" Every hand rose. Within hours, Operation Righteous Storm began. Every nation on Earth contributed everything they had. Korean shipyards that built commercial freighters started producing military destroyers. American orbital platforms launched, their largest construction projects ever. European quantum laboratories worked around the clock, developing new communication systems. Chinese manufacturing complexes retooled their production lines to build weapons and armor. Russian military academies began training programs for space combat. African mining operations expanded to nearby asteroids, gathering resources for the war effort. The response amazed everyone involved. Dr. Song Ray, Earth's top xenobiologist, found herself leading a team of linguists and cultural experts preparing for contact with friendly aliens. "3 days ago, I was studying Earth bacteria," she told her team. "Now I'm trying to figure out how to talk to beings from another world." Meanwhile, General Bei Wu coordinated the largest military buildup in human history. Soldiers from every nation trained together. Pilots learned to fly new spacecraft designed specifically for fighting in space. Engineers developed weapons that could punch through alien armor. The work never stopped. Factories ran 24 hours a day. Shipyards launched new vessels every week. Training centers pushed soldiers to their limits and beyond. Won Bin, Earth's best engineer, led the technical development teams. "We're not just building ships," he explained to his workers. "We're building hope. Hope that good people don't have to die while evil ones prosper." The first ships were ready in 3 months. Destroyers bristling with weapons. Carriers packed with fighters. Support ships loaded with supplies and medical equipment. But Admiral Choi Hyun knew they needed more. "How long until we have a real fleet?" President Park Jin asked during one of their weekly meetings. "6 months for a full battle group. 12 months for a proper armada," the admiral replied. "Do we have 12 months? I don't know. We haven't heard from Captain Lee in 2 months. Either he's maintaining radio silence or..." They all knew what the alternative meant. At the 4-month mark, scouts reported something incredible. Captain Lee. Jun's ship was still active, still fighting. Somehow, the small human vessel had not only survived, but had protected a large group of Villani refugees. "How is that possible?" General Bei Wu asked. Admiral Choi Hyun smiled for the first time in months. "Because he's human, and humans don't give up." By the 6-month mark, Earth had assembled the largest military force in its history. 2,000 capital ships, 50,000 support vessels, 500,000 fighters, 10 million personnel ready for combat. Fleet Admiral Ko Jun, the best tactical mind in the human military, took command of the Armada. His flagship, the Das Soul's Fury, was the most powerful warship ever built. Its weapons could destroy a small moon. Its shields could withstand direct hits from nuclear warheads. "What are our orders?" Admiral Ko Jun asked. Admiral Choi Hyun looked at the massive fleet displayed on the tactical screen. Ships from every nation on Earth, working together for the first time in human history. Find the Korthak Empire, rescue our people and the Villani, and make sure every aggressive species in the galaxy knows that Earth protects its friends. The fleet launched 1 week later. Thousands of ships moving together through space, carrying the hopes and determination of an entire planet. They had one mission: save the innocent and stop the destroyers. Earth had awakened, and its war machine was moving toward the stars. As the last ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, President Park Jin stood at the observation deck of the Orbital Command Center. For the first time in human history, their species was fighting not for territory or resources, but for the simple principle that good people deserved protection. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Tell them Earth is watching. Tell them Earth is proud. And tell them to bring our people home." The message raced through space, following the fleet toward whatever waited in the darkness between the stars. Humanity had answered the call for help, and they were bringing everything they had. The human armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the New Haven system. 2,000 ships appeared in space like a metal storm, their engines glowing bright against the darkness. On the bridge of the Soul's Fury fleet, Admiral Ko Jun watched the sensors as they painted a picture of the system. "Admiral, we're detecting approximately 3 million life signs on the planet," reported the sensor operator. "All appear to be Vellani civilians." Ko Jun nodded. "Any sign of Captain Lee's ship?" "Yes, sir. The Handbox Pride is in orbit around the planet. They're responding to our hails." A familiar voice crackled through the communication system. "Fleet Admiral Ko Jun. This is Captain Lee Jun. Welcome to New Haven. It's good to see you." Ko Jun smiled. "It's good to see you too, Captain. What's your status?" "Alive and well, sir. We've been protecting Vellani refugees for 6 months. But Admiral, there's something you need to know. These people are nothing like the Korthak. They're peaceful, intelligent, and they need our help." Ambassador. Han Sol stepped forward on the bridge. As Earth's top diplomat, she would handle the delicate work of first contact. "Captain Lee, we're ready to begin formal diplomatic relations. Can you arrange a meeting?" "Already done, Ambassador. The Vellani leader, Christar Thane, is waiting to meet you. But be prepared. They're as nervous about us as we were about them." 2 hours later, Ambassador Han Sol found herself in the strangest meeting of her career. The Vellani were tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shimmer like crystal. Their leader, Christar Thane, moved with fluid elegance but spoke in careful, measured tones. "Your people saved many of ours," Christar Thane said through the translation device Dr. Song Ray had quickly developed. "But we do not understand why. You do not know us. We cannot offer you anything of value." Ambassador Han Sol smiled gently. "You offered us something very valuable already. You showed us that there are good people in the universe worth protecting." The Vellani leader paused, clearly thinking about this answer. "The Korthak take what they want and destroy the rest. You fight the Korthak to protect strangers. This is difficult for us to understand." Dr. Song Ray had been studying the Vellani for hours, trying to understand their culture. "Ambassador, I think they're a naturally peaceful species. The concept of fighting to protect others doesn't translate well in their society." Over the following days, both sides learned about each other. The Vellani showed the humans their advanced biotechnology. They could grow buildings from living materials, heal injuries that would kill humans, and create art that seemed to come alive. Dr. Song Ray was amazed by their medical techniques. "They can regrow entire organs in hours," she told Admiral Ko Jun. "Their understanding of biological systems is centuries ahead of ours." But the Vellani were equally impressed by human technology. Chief Engineer Wan Bin demonstrated their quantum drive systems and defensive shields. "Your ships move faster than anything we thought possible," Christar Thane admitted. "And your weapons, we have never seen such focused destruction. The real breakthrough came when Colonel Nam Ki began training Vellani volunteers in basic combat techniques. Most Vellani couldn't handle weapons, but a few showed natural talent for tactics and strategy. They think differently than we do," Nam Ki reported. "They see patterns we miss. With proper training, They could be excellent support personnel. Meanwhile, Volani healers began working with human medical teams. Their techniques saved the lives of several wounded crew members who wouldn't have survived with human medicine alone. The alliance grew stronger each day. One bin shared quantum technology with Volani engineers who combined it with their biotechnology to create amazing new inventions. Dr. Song Ray worked with Volani scientists to develop better translation systems. But the most important work was being done by the intelligence teams. The Volani refugees had brought detailed information about the Korthak Empire, and what they revealed was terrifying. "They've conquered 43 star systems," reported Intelligence Officer Park Soo. "Each system had multiple intelligent species. The Korthak enslaved the useful ones and killed the rest." Admiral Ko Jun studied the star charts showing Korthak territory. It was massive, stretching across hundreds of light years. "How many ships do they have?" "Based on Volani observations, at least 10,000 combat vessels. Maybe more." The humans were outnumbered 5-1, but Admiral Ko Jun wasn't discouraged. "What about their next target?" "The Zelen Federation. 3 species living in democratic alliance. 7 inhabited worlds, completely peaceful." Admiral Ko Jun made his decision. "How long until the Korthak attack them?" "The Volani estimate 6 months, maybe less." "Then we have 6 months to end this war." Kristar Thane was present for this conversation, and the Volani leader looked confused. "End the war? But the Korthak are too powerful. They have conquered for centuries. No one has ever stopped them." Admiral Ko Jun turned to face the alien leader. "No one like us has ever tried. The plan was bold and dangerous. Instead of defending against Korthak attacks, the humans would strike directly at the Empire's core systems. Force them to stop expanding and defend their homeworld. It's never been attempted," warned Captain Lee Jun. "The Korthak home system is heavily defended." "Good," replied Admiral Ko Jun. "That means all their best ships will be there when we arrive." The Volani provided detailed intelligence about Korthak technology and tactics. Their biotechnology, combined with human quantum systems, produced new weapons and defenses that neither species could have created alone. One bin and the Volani engineers developed quantum torpedoes that could punch through any known shielding. Dr. Song Ray and Volani healers created medical systems that could treat both human and alien injuries. Most importantly, the Volani gave the humans something they hadn't expected: hope. Here was proof that peaceful, intelligent species could survive and thrive. The Korthak weren't unstoppable. They were just bullies who had never faced real opposition. "We will come with you," Kristar Thane announced during the final planning meeting. Admiral Ko Jun looked surprised. "You don't have warships." "No, but we have something else. We have knowledge of the Korthak systems. We know their weaknesses. And we want to see our destroyers defeated." The combined human Volani fleet prepared for departure. 2,000 human warships and 500 Volani support vessels. Not enough to match the Korthak in numbers, but more than enough to show the galaxy that evil empires could be challenged. As the fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Admiral Ko Jun received a final message from Earth. "All human colonies are secure. All defensive systems are online. The home fleet stands ready. Go end this war and bring our people home." Admiral Ko Jun smiled as he gave the order. "All ships, jump on my mark. Target Korthak Prime. It's time to show these bullies what happens when good people fight back." 2,500 ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying the combined hopes of 2 species toward the heart of an evil empire. The human Volani armada emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Korthak home system like an angry storm. Thousands of ships appeared in perfect formation, their weapons already charging and shields at maximum power. On the bridge of the Soul's Fury, Fleet Admiral Ko Jun watched the tactical display update with enemy positions. "Sweet mother of space," whispered the sensor operator. "Admiral, I'm reading over 8,000 Korthak vessels in this system. Ko-Jun studied the display calmly. The Korthak fleet was massive, but most of their ships were spread throughout the system, guarding different planets and installations. Battle Commander Shinjay, how long until your fighters are ready? Ready now, sir. All squadrons armed and waiting for orders. Launch everything. Target their communication satellites first. I want them blind and confused. 500,000. Human fighters poured out of their carriers like angry bees. At the same time, Captain Yuhai's orbital bombardment platforms targeted the massive communication arrays that linked the Korthak fleet together. The first phase of the battle lasted only minutes, but it changed everything. Human quantum torpedoes tore through Korthak shielding like it was made of paper. Their communication network went dark in the first 30 seconds. Half their defensive platforms were destroyed before they could return fire. They've never seen anything like our weapons, reported Tactical Officer Kimbo. Their shields can't adapt fast enough. But the Korthak weren't helpless. As soon as they recovered from the surprise attack, they began moving their massive dreadnoughts toward the human fleet. Each Korthak dreadnought was 3 times larger than the biggest human ship, and they had hundreds of them. Incoming dreadnoughts from 3 directions, reported the sensor operator. They're trying to surround us. Admiral Ko-Jun smiled grimly. Captain Yuhei, show them why that's a mistake. The human fleet split into 3 groups, each one targeting a different group of approaching dreadnoughts. But instead of meeting them head-on, the human ships used their superior speed and maneuverability to attack from unexpected angles. Battle Commander Shin Jae led his fighters in coordinated strikes against the dreadnoughts' weapon systems. The massive Korthak ships were powerful, but they were also slow and clumsy. Human fighters danced around them like mosquitoes, striking critical systems and disappearing before the enemy could respond. Direct hit on Dreadnought Alpha 7, reported one of the fighter pilots. Their main guns are offline. Alpha 12 is losing power to their engines, called another pilot. They're dead in space. Captain Lee Young led the Marine assault teams in a series of boarding actions against disabled Korthak ships. What they found inside shocked everyone. Admiral, you need to see this, Lee Young reported from inside a captured Korthak vessel. They've got prison levels packed with alien slaves, dozens of different species, all being used as forced labor. Admiral Ko-Jun felt his anger growing. Free them all, and Lee, make sure every slave knows who's liberating them. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Korthak fought desperately, but they had never faced an enemy like humanity. Their tactics were designed to overwhelm primitive civilizations through brute force. Against an enemy that fought with precision, innovation, and righteous fury, they were helpless. Demolitions. Expert Kang Su led teams that systematically destroyed Korthak military installations throughout the system. These facilities have been here for centuries, he reported. They've been launching attacks from here for generations. Technical specialist Oh Min worked with Villani computer experts to hack into the Korthak command network. Admiral, I'm into their central computer. The information here is incredible. They've been keeping detailed records of every species they've conquered or destroyed. Can you access their weapon systems? Working on it. Yes, I've got control of their automated defense platforms. Should I turn them against the Korthak? Fleet, do it! Suddenly, the Korthak's own weapons began firing on their own ships. Defensive platforms that had protected their homeworld for centuries turned against them. The confusion this caused was devastating to Korthak morale. The Korthak Emperor, desperate to maintain control, made a fatal mistake. He activated planet-killing superweapons hidden throughout the system, weapons designed to destroy entire worlds if the Korthak ever faced defeat. Admiral, massive energy buildup on Korthak Prime, warned the sensor operator. They're charging some kind of planet-buster weapon. But Oh Min was still connected to their computer network. I see it. Admiral, this weapon is connected to their central command system. If I can hack it, do whatever you have to do. Oh Min's fingers flew over his controls, racing against time. The Korthak superweapon continued charging, preparing to destroy their own homeworld rather than let it fall into enemy hands. "Got it," Min shouted. "I'm redirecting the targeting system. Instead of hitting the planet, it's going to target their own fleet." The Korthak superweapon fired, but instead of destroying their homeworld, the massive energy beam swept through space and struck the largest concentration of Korthak ships. Hundreds of enemy vessels disappeared in brilliant explosions. The surviving Korthak ships began to retreat, but Admiral Ko Jun wasn't finished with them yet. "Signal all ships. Begin Operation Cleanup. I want every Korthak military installation in this system destroyed." For the next 2 hours, the human fleet systematically destroyed everything the Korthak had built for war. Shipyards that had produced conquest fleets for centuries became scrap metal. Weapons factories that had armed. Genocidal campaigns were reduced to atoms, but Admiral Ko Jun saved the most important task for last. Standing on the bridge of his flagship, with representatives from dozens of liberated alien species watching, he opened a communication channel to every Korthak facility in the galaxy. The message was broadcast in hundreds of languages, translated by Volani communication experts to ensure every species in the galaxy would understand. "This is Fleet Admiral Ko Jun of the Human Defense Forces," he began. "To all Korthak military commanders, listen carefully. Your empire ends today. You will immediately release all enslaved populations and withdraw to your core worlds. Any Korthak ship found outside designated areas will be destroyed without warning." He paused, letting the message sink in. "To all species currently enslaved by the Korthak Empire, help is coming. Human and Volani forces are moving to liberate your worlds. Hold on a little longer. Freedom is on its way." The message was received on thousands of worlds across the galaxy. Enslaved populations who had given up hope suddenly dared to believe again. Korthak commanders realized their empire of conquest was over. As Korthak Prime burned behind them, the human fleet began the long work of liberation. There were 43 star systems to free, millions of slaves to rescue, and an entire galaxy to convince that bullies could be defeated. Admiral Ko Jun looked at the tactical display showing the extent of former Korthak territory. It would take months to free everyone, but they had time now. The Korthak war machine was broken, and the galaxy was about to learn what happened when humanity decided to protect the innocent. "Signal Earth," he ordered. "Tell them the Korthak Empire has fallen. Tell them we're coming home and we're bringing friends." 6 months after the Battle of Korthak Prime, the galaxy was a completely different place. Admiral Lee Jun stood on the observation deck of the new orbital station above New Valaris, watching as ships from 17 different species moved peacefully through space. It was hard to believe that just 1 year ago, this system had been a burning ruin. "Admiral, the morning briefing is ready," said his aide, Lieutenant Park Hana. She had been promoted after her excellent work during the first contact situation, and now served as his chief communications officer. Lee Jun nodded and walked to the briefing room. As commander of the new Galactic Patrol Fleet, he received daily reports from across known space. The news was usually good these days, but there was always more work to be done. Director Imsol was waiting with the daily refugee reports. Since the fall of the Korthak Empire, humans had been working non-stop to relocate freed slave populations. "We've successfully returned 3 million Zellan citizens to their home worlds," she reported. "The Brakti species has established 2 new colonies with our protection, and the Yithak delegation has finally agreed to join the Galactic Defense Alliance." Dr. Ju Nam, head of the Interspecies Medical Exchange, had equally good news. "The trauma counseling programs are showing excellent results. Combining human psychological techniques with Volani healing methods, we've helped over 10 million former slaves recover from their captivity." Lee Jun smiled. It was the kind of problem he enjoyed solving. "What about the Korthak themselves? Still confined to their home system under our supervision, reported Security Chief Yoon Dae. Some of their younger generation wants to make peace and join the galactic community. The older military leaders are still defiant, but they're in prison camps. The transformation had been remarkable. When humans first arrived at Korthak Prime, they expected to find a species of natural conquerors. Instead, they discovered that the Korthak Empire had been controlled by a small military class that enslaved their own people as well as others. The majority of Korthak civilians were victims too, Dr. Song Ray had reported after months of study. Their military leaders used fear and propaganda to control them. Now that the military is gone, most Korthak just want to live in peace. Lee Jun reviewed the reports from across the galaxy. On Zelen Prime, the three allied species were rebuilding their civilization with human engineering help. The mining world of Bractos had been transformed from a slave camp into a thriving industrial center run by its own people. Most importantly, none of the liberated species had to fear attack anymore. Human patrol fleets moved constantly through former Korthak territory, responding to distress calls and keeping the peace. "Sir, incoming priority message from the Galactic Council," announced Lieutenant Park Hana. The message was from Ambassador Kim Bok, who represented humanity in the new galactic government. "Admiral, the Council has voted unanimously to expand the Galactic Defense Alliance. 12 more species want to join. Also, the Andromedan Trade Federation has sent an exploratory mission. It seems news of our actions has spread beyond this galaxy." Lee Jun wasn't surprised. The story of humanity's response to the Vellani distress call had become legend across known space. Songs were sung about it on a dozen worlds. Children from multiple species played games where they pretended to be human space marines. The communication system chimed with another message. This one was from Earth, from Admiral Choi Hyun himself. "Lee, I have news that will interest you. The deep space monitoring stations have detected 17 new distress signals from outside our galaxy. Different species, all asking for help against various threats. The President wants to know if you're interested in expanding our protection duties." Lee Jun looked out the viewport at the peaceful ships moving through space. Human destroyers, escorted Vellani bioships, Zelen cargo vessels carried trade goods protected by human fighters. Former Korthak workers operated mining stations under human supervision, earning fair wages for the first time in their lives. "Hana, send a reply to Admiral Choi Hyun. Tell him we're ready to answer any distress call anywhere in the universe." As if summoned by his words, the proximity alarms sounded. A ship had just dropped out of hyperspace near the station. It was unfamiliar, clearly from outside local space, and it was broadcasting an emergency signal. "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Lee Jun of the Galactic Patrol. We received your distress call. How can we help?" The reply came in a language no one had heard before, but the universal translation system quickly decoded it. "We are the Helix Confederation. Our worlds are under attack by the Machine Collective. We followed stories of humans who help strangers. Please, can you save our children?" Lee Jun looked at his staff. They all nodded. Dr. Song Ray was already preparing first contact protocols. Director Im Sol was calculating refugee support requirements. Captain Yu Hai was checking fleet readiness status. "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Lee Jun. Transmit your coordinates and tactical data. Help is on the way." As his staff prepared for another rescue mission, Lee Jun thought about how much had changed. 1 year ago, Captain Lee Jun had been a simple patrol officer who answered a distress call. Now, Admiral Lee Jun commanded fleets that protected entire civilizations. But the most important thing hadn't changed at all. When people called for help, humans answered. The ceremony on New Valaris took place 1 week later. Representatives from 17 species gathered in the Crystal Gardens that the Vellani had regrown from the ashes of their destroyed world. Children from multiple species played together while their parents worked on plans for mutual defense and cooperation. Kristar Thane, now serving as the first non-human ambassador to Earth, stood beside Admiral Lee Jun as they watched the celebration. "Your species is remarkable," the Volani leader said. "You turned a galaxy of fear into a galaxy of hope." Li Jun shook his head. "We just did what anyone should do. When someone calls for help, you answer. But you brought your entire war machine with you." Li Jun smiled as he watched human and alien children chase each other through the gardens. Sometimes that's what it takes to protect the innocent. Above them, ships from dozens of species moved through space in peaceful formation. The Galactic Patrol Fleet stood ready to respond to any threat, anywhere in the universe. Earth's war machine had become the galaxy's shield. The stars were no longer empty and silent. They echoed with the voices of free civilizations, all living, under the protection of a species that had learned the most important lesson in the universe. Strength means nothing without the courage to use it for others. Admiral Li Jun's personal journal, final entry. Today marks 1 year since we first heard the Volani distress call. The galaxy is at peace. 17 species live in freedom, and humanity has found its purpose among the stars. We are no longer explorers or conquerors. We are protectors. And as long as there are innocent people who need help, we will answer the call. The journal entry was transmitted to Earth and placed in the historical archives. Someday, when humans spread to other galaxies and encountered new threats, they would remember this moment. They would remember that their greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. Their greatest strength was their willingness to fight for strangers, to answer distress calls from people they had never met, and to bring their entire war machine to protect the innocent. The stars were full of voices now, and all of them knew that Earth was listening.